Hi everyone, welcome to the Jansen Art Studio. Today I'm going to show you some quick painting or Paint It Simply concept lessons of some anemones and a rose. That's kind of what I have planned. We'll see how it goes because I haven't painted it before. We're going to try it together. First off, I get a lot of people who write to me, which I love your comments, and I hope you take the time to drop a comment into the bottom right down there. I'd love to hear from you. But they always ask me, it seems like on everything I paint, is this oil or acrylic? And I only paint in the Heritage Multimedia acrylics. It's the only ones that I've done. I started out as an oil artist about 35 years ago, and about 25 years ago, I changed completely over to acrylics. And now I paint with what's called a new generation acrylic, which allows you to control the drying time of it, so you can paint with it just like an oil. So I use a lot of my old oil techniques with it. But there's a lot of information. I have a lot of videos on it. All of this is in the links down below. Take a few minutes and go through those links. If you're interested in trying it, they have a sample set up on Amazon. There's also the brushes. The brushes that I use are called Fusion brushes. They are also great brushes, fantastic synthetic squirrel brushes. And a lot of times it is the materials that you use that allow you to do the technique. So I have people who write me all the time and say, I tried this and I can't get it to work like you. If you're not using the same type of products, of course it's going to look different. You can get some nice effects, but it's going to be different. Okay, so if you are learning and you want to follow some of these things, use the tools. That's what you need to do. Okay, so let's get down into some of the painting. Check out those links at the bottom down there. All right, let's get into the painting here. What I have is I'm going to paint a board. This is it's like a 10 by 14 board. It's a little long, a little bit longer than I've done in some other things. I'm going to put some color to the background. It's just as a super MDF panel. You see me use this on many of my videos, and I based it with a medium white, which is just titanium white and a little bit of yellow and a little bit of black. I use the Paint It Simply colors. I put them out in cups. These are acrylics. I put them out in little cups like this, and I paint with them. I like them really, really thick. So like this is my white paint. It's really, really thick, and it reacts just like an oil paint. Okay, so I know a lot of people, if you're using thinner acrylics, this won't work with the real thin acrylics. Okay, so look up to some of my videos and stuff. I have a lot of that information about how I change it. But let's get into some painting today, because I have all this in other videos for you. I'm going to take some extender. This is a little clear medium. It's nice and dirty from all the painting that I use. I'm going to take some extender down here and put it into my 3/4 inch Fusion brush here. And I'm going to push some color up into the area in which I want to put the anemones and the rose. Now, my idea here is I'm going to put some anemones right up here and down to a rose right here. We'll make a kind of maybe a C type of a composition here. And I want to push some color into the back. A lot of times I love to push like blues or grays, which gives you the feeling of sky here. And this is a phthalo blue and some titanium white. If I want it to go more to a blue violet, I reach over to my real cool red violet and add that to this color here. And I want to get some nice light color here. So I'm going to take a big old dollop of this blue and just set it right down here with my brush, and we'll get some light color here. And I don't want to make it too light, because I want to be able to see the white flowers come up on it. So, you know, this is white. Of course, you can see it there, and be quite a bit darker. It's down what we call probably around a value 8. Those of you that are studying value and stuff, it's probably around a value 8 or so. And if you're an artist, if you're learning art and you haven't studied value yet, that's something you need to do. There's some really, really great things about values and intensities that we need to study, and that helps us communicate with each other as artists. So I say to you, this is a nice value 8 blue. You know about what kind of blue I'm painting. Now, I'm also going to push a little bit of green into this, a little green, a little yellow into this, into the bottom back down here. Right, just push some color right into that. I like to paint very, very much casual. Okay, and a lot of people say, oh yeah, you really do paint casual. I'm going to push this up at a slight angle like that. There we go. And so I like to paint really casual, and just use my big brush strokes here with powerful colors through. I love that type of interest, and I love what we call vignetted paintings that come out to the edge. I sell a lot of them, and they're very, very popular. It's got a different look, you know. I mean, I've been painting for, you know, over 40 years, and there's all different kinds of looks, you know, that you have, and I love to paint them all. So I'll put some of this down like this. Now let's take one of my colors that I really like to use is burnt sienna. This is burnt sienna, and I like burnt sienna and pine green together for a lot of sketching. So I'll put some pine green and some burnt sienna together, and my pine green is a warm color. The burnt sienna is a warm color. So this is going to give me a warm, kind of a little bit of a toned, very toned brownish green color here that I like to sketch with. And I'll come in and put in some like stem movements here. This is my number 6 here, or 8, excuse me, an 8 fusion flat, small fusion flat. And it's a paint that this brush has probably done about 20 paintings for me so far. I love these brushes now, and even as they get old, never throw them away, because there's so many things I do with these. I want to put in some movement here. Now I want to change the color every once in a while, model in a little bit more green, so that color changes just a bit here. And you know, so you don't always have your stems, you know, coming into the same color. Now this is a long, very long board, so I want to give most of my, you know, my feeling of the painting needs to be long here. And I want to kick some out a little different here. And movement, what I'm looking for first is some of the movement that I want to use here into this particular painting. So I want some stuff coming around and going like this. Now into the sketch part of it, let's get into a little bit more of the burnt sienna side. Not quite completely burnt sienna, but we'll put a little green into that. And I'm going to drop a rose, and I'll just kind of sketch out the size of the rose that I want to use here, right here. Maybe a rose is going to come down here. So what I do first is, you know, what really makes the rose, you know, like you've seen in a lot of my videos, it really makes the rose is this center here. So once you put that center, this gives what we call the gaze of the rose, and I'll just kind of push that around in some of the color. It gives the gaze of the rose, the way in which the rose is going to look. So the center is so very important, and I want these flowers to come up like this, up into the angle like this. So I want the gaze of that rose up through here. That's the first thing I put on. The next thing I'll put on is the bottom of what we call the bowl shadow. This is where the reaching petals, these outside petals and the bowl will come together. And I'll drop a little bit of color into that for that bowl shadow. I also like to, and I'll cool this slightly, a little red violet. Red violet is very cool, okay? It's the color it's in the Paint It Simply beginning kit. It is very, very cool. I'll take a little red violet and a green. And I'm going to cool the lower side of this rose too. This will be the shadow side, because I want light coming from the top here. So here will be the reaching petals. I'll just pull some color out here. I'm not painting the rose yet as much as I am just setting up the color or the movement, the light and the dark of the rose here. And I can push back like this and take off any of that shadow tone that I don't want to have here, like that, and kind of set that rose up just a bit. Maybe a little cool color into the center here, down like that, and a little bit here. So I have a good shadow side here to the rose and a light side to the rose here. So, and I want to keep it kind of casual and understated right now too much. So I just get a light side and a shadow side. That's all I want right now. And in this first go through, let's take some more burnt sienna and a little bit of green back up into our sketches and stuff that we're going to go here. We'll anchor a big anemone maybe right in here. Okay, I love the anemone flowers here. I love all flowers actually. And maybe a smaller one right back here. And I'm just lightly sketching where I think I might want to have these. Let's open one up back this way here. Okay, let's open one back up that way. I might want to increase the size of this. This is what helps you when you're sketching like this. I'm going to push a little bit of this color here, increase the power and the size of this rose just a bit in relationship to these anemones, because I want the rose to be kind of the anchor that's holding all of this together here. And let's push a couple of buds together here, right like that. We'll push a bud together. We'll push these petals here. This will just, you know, the thing is when you paint like this, is see I'm pushing out, I'm just beginning to shape. This is going to be the center of the anemone right in here. Okay, and this one will be right in here. Here will be the center. And I just use my brush here to kind of push some colors. The color doesn't have to be perfect. Push some colors to shape them. And if I put it more of an oval shape, so if I elongate these guys right up here, if I elongate them just a bit more here with some of these different colors, that will be more of an oval shape and turn that way. I'll push one right out here. Let's just make it an oval shape this way. We don't want to go too far. We want the composition to turn. So we'll put one right in there. So these will turn up like that. That'll be nice. And maybe something that turns down here. That'll be good. One that turns down there or turns back. Just some ideas of some back in through here that'll be just soft little guys kind of fading away. So we've got a nice painting of that. Now let's go in, let's take some cool color because we want to set some of some more of our shadows. So I'll come down with some red violet, nice cool color here. Maybe a touch, you know, red violet by itself is really, really cold. And so if I put a touch of yellow oxide into that, that'll warm it just a touch. But I still want it kind of cool, and we'll push that right into the centers of our anemones here as a nice, give a little color. This is what I start to look for. Sorry, got a little bit of glare there. This is what I start to look for, this cool color into the centers. I like to casually apply it like here, and we'll push some of that right into this flower. The side flowers here, you know, they don't have to be perfect. These are just ideas, So let's just push a little bit of color into them right now. We don't have to, it doesn't have to really be in the center as much as it just has to be attached to the flower someplace, some of this color. Let's push some color down into that same color down into this rose. I want these to kind of have harmony with each other, but we're really going to change up. We're going to push the rose slightly to the yellow side and the anemones slightly to the white side. That's my plan. I'll take some more pine green. Let's add a touch of the burnt sienna and the red violet to it. So that's the burnt sienna and a little bit of red violet to it here. We'll darken it, tone it, cool it down just a bit, and let's push out some of the leaves. Now, anemone leaves are longer. Okay, they can be, of course, there's a lot of different varieties of them, but they can be a little bit longer, and we can push a few little things out there like that. Just very soft there, coming around like that. Let's push some stems back in here. We can head more towards the rose leaf over here. Let's get some dark in here for some contrast of this and help these set down too. And more of an oval shape here. So I just take my brush and I imagine kind of like where the center of that is. Sometimes you can take your edge of your brush like this and drop in a center vein line, and I'll just kind of pull the strokes right there to the center vein line. We'll pull these coming back like that. So maybe those little guys are there like that. Let's add a bit of our lighter yellow here to that just to move this up. Change the colors. You're going up towards the light. Your greens should come a little lighter. And we'll get very casual with this still. Okay, I'm just going to be casual. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to be casual. I'm not going to make perfect leaves through here. I'm just going to be very, very casual. I love to paint casual. I love the casual expressions of paint and color. And we can get some longer little edges here of this coming out like that if we want. Here, just ideas, just those coming around. Here we go. Yeah, just like that. It's kind of pretty, kind of different there. Okay, set up and here we just take some. Just I like to let this just kind of just casual strokes like this coming through, and use just that. This is where the Fusion brush really shines because it's a super soft brush, and so it does this casual stuff really nice. Here, just kind of lets that just sit there nice and you know, not a whole lot of perfect shape to it. Now you can come back, like if I pinch wipe this brush with a paper towel like that, you can come back and lift off, and see I can lift off like little vein lines. I can lift off, you know, we can drop it, you know, take any kind of color off. I could come back and pick up just an edge, a darker color, and do a little negative painting around some of the blossoms there if I wanted to. All different kinds of ways. One of the things I like to do is kind of let this paint tack up just a bit. Now you can see right here, see how very wet everything is, and it will stay very wet for a long time because I've mixed extender medium up into these paints so that I have about a 4 or 5 hour drying time on these paints. But I like them to kind of tack up just a little bit. So and you know, sometimes I'll use a hair dryer on it to tack up, because if it's too wet, it gets difficult to push the color into. So that's one thing that we try to balance a little bit. Now I'm going to take some more white over here. We want this rose to go a little bit more to the yellow side, so I'm going to take a little yellow oxide, maybe a touch of my Hansa yellow right here, right into my white. I'm going to model this together so that they got different amounts of white here and light yellow, and that's probably a little too light, so I'll just pick up a little more yellow into that, and I'll just go right through it again. There we go. And we'll push this down like this and create this look of the yellow rose. So I'm heavy color right in here, and then I lighten my pressure, and I just start to lighten my pressure, lighten, just let it drag through here like this, just until you start to build that feeling of the roundness of the rose here. Okay, so I pick up quite a bit of color here like this, nice thick color. That allows me to lay the stroke right here onto the light side, the more opaque side of the rose, and then I lighten my pressure. And this is where the brush really is important, is I lighten my pressure, and that gives me just a soft look onto this side, as unless that color fade around, and it kind of works into that shadow a little bit. Now take some of that off your brush like this, and you can go like this and lift some of that light. This is a negative lifting technique that I use a lot to lift off and maybe help shape up this outside edge here, let that become soft onto the rose, so I build most of the front of that rose. Now inside we have a dark, so we should darken our color a little bit, maybe a bit more yellow here. Let's darken that down, and let's push in a little more of the yellow tone, just kind of smaller half circles here, so that we give just the movement. Now I used to go in and paint a lot of roses for just each individual petal. Now I paint them for movement. And of course there's a lot of different ways I do it. You can't paint 400 DVDs and not have different ways. So, but I try to just create the movement. Now that's a nice yellow, so let's use a little bit of that yellow down in here into this rose as well. Maybe that's yellow oxide, maybe a bit of that Hansa yellow, because as you head to the light, it should get lighter and brighter. So let's push a little bit of brighter yellow out here onto this side of the rose, and let it now just lighten up the pressure of your brush. Just brush some in like this. We want to paint very, very casual, very, very soft. Okay, now let's drop down here. We'll put a little bit of that, and let's drop down here to the light and pick up some of that light again right in here. Nice heavy light. And let's just strike against the edge here. Just strike. Now see that, what that does is that allows me to put some of the color out there. Now I can lift off like this and take off and leave the little light edge, or I can pull it back in. I can pick up a little more color and pull it back in. I can do all different kinds of things, and that's what I do with roses. Is sometimes I'm pulling in or pulling down, sometimes I'm lifting off like this. Sometimes I'll lift off, and I just look at what the rose needs. I usually like nice light little edges here like this. I'll push an edge, and sometimes I'll just tap that edge and just pull in slightly like this. Now this again is where the fusion brush really shines, because it doesn't dig. It's soft and it doesn't dig. And I have more and more people that just write me all the time and say, I love these fusions. Yes, they're a beautiful brush for painting this type of technique here, because they're very soft. Now we need to let the light fade away, so I'm just going to let this fade away and just touch for some movement over here onto this side here like that. Okay, I like that. I like a bit of that yellow back in here as well, so we'll just model some of this yellow back in here. Another beautiful color is you could get some of that red violet back in here. Let's just drop a little red violet, maybe a touch of that yellow into the red violet, just a tiny bit, just to warm it just a bit. And let's just push a little bit of that here and there, maybe a touch of it back into our center here as well. I like this type of movement of color, and I'm painting very, very soft. I'm barely touching this thing, letting the fusion brush, it's a very soft brush, letting it do its thing here. Okay, and so it's very important when you're painting that you're using heavy pigmented colors. Regular bottled acrylics cannot paint these. They don't have enough enough pigment into it, and it's very important that you use very, very soft brushes when you're doing this, working these wet like this. Now let's build up a little bit more light. Let's build up a little bit more thicker paint, thicker white, and let's put another layer of petals right here onto this rose here like this. So I just strike it like this, then I'll wipe off the excess. Now I can pull it down and soften it, or I can lift off slightly like this and reveal some shadow. Or I can do what I call a halftone. And I showed a video, there's another video, quite a few videos actually, that I've done where I show a halftone. Is I'll go right between the yellow that I have showing there and the light. And I'll strike a halftone right into there like that to soften that exchange of that rose. Maybe a touch more light. There we go, right in there like that. That's kind of pretty and different. I'm always looking for kind of different sets to the rose. Let's put a lighter little red violet. So red violet and some of that light color. Let's push a bit of that right here. Just, I'm like that color. Let's push a little bit of that right there. Here, right there. That's kind of pretty and a little different there. We'll push a bit more of the light here. Let's push a bit more. There we go. That's pretty. And sometimes I'll push down into the rose here. And let's just push a little more color. And if I drop the center, let's take a little red violet here, right in here on the edge of the brush here. If I make that dark right in there and I drop this center down this side, that will open this rose up just a touch more. I want to leave that dark way down into that center. And I got rid of a couple of my yellow strokes there, so I'll just add a couple more here. Movement, right? A couple more right in there like that. Some nice movement of the of that light. Now I want to take a little bit more white, a little bit more haunts of yellow, and some yellow oxide here. A little bit heavier light color, and we'll pick up a nice thing of texture here, and let's really build this light right here, this light stroke here and here. Let's just build that. Let's curve this up just a bit here so we see the bottom of that rose, but we want some of that stroke pulling in, curving up, and see, you're controlling the movement of it. I can come in and take a little bit of the darker yellow, maybe a little red violet in it, and do a little what I call negative paint, like here, to set some of that movement back. But or I use my finger sometimes, but I want to get the feeling of that round bowl, but I also want to keep the light side and the dark side here, and build and build and build here. There we go. That's kind of pretty. We'll leave a little bit of that motion there to that rose. Maybe this comes up this way, a little bit of that motion just pulling up like this on that side there. That's kind of pretty. Gets a little bit of the strokes going on in there like that. A little different. We'll put a bit of yellow into this right there like that, just to soften that down. That's pretty, but see, that contains a lot of paint there. There's a lot of paint. Now, sometimes I might say, okay, that little yellow spot maybe bothers me. Sometimes I don't do anything about it. Sometimes I'll just take and push a little bit out there like that and color done. Now, so that rose, that's some of the lightness we want to use. Let's take some of our lighter color here, some of our blue, some of our green, some of our reds. This is how we make our grays. We take all of the colors that we're using here in the composition, and some blues and greens. You get these beautiful soft gray colors here. I like mine leaning slightly red and green here together. Yeah, and let's use that to help us build some soft, because we want these anemones here to be kind of white. Let's use this to build some soft color here for the anemones. I'm just going to imagine the center there and pull in. Here, I'm just going to imagine the center and pull in. Now, I know I'm painting kind of fast and stuff, but we do that here on our demonstration videos. I paint kind of fast. Our educational videos that we do in, those of you that want to, go the next step and start, learning some things. You have the educational videos, and those I take my time and I talk to you more about color. I do a lot more education part of it with you. And but here we have, I do just as much as I can, but we try to paint the videos pretty quickly because most people have already changed the channel. The YouTube, there's so much to watch on YouTube. People don't usually tend to stick around very long. So we try to paint very, very quickly and show some things so that catch people with before they change the channel, show them some stuff. So let's got that in there. Let's maybe we'll put up a turned one here. So this one's going to turn this way. Just an idea of it. And again, I start out, I'm just beginning to shape. I'm not being perfect. I'm just beginning to shape some of the petals here of these little anemones. And maybe we'll have one shaped here like that. And again, sometimes I like just that. I like to go through just real quick like that and just kind of say, okay, that right there is going to be a real casual little anemone turned sideways. And you look at a lot of the masters, you look at Monet and a lot of the Impressionists. They were just saying this, you can kill a painting by painting it too much. Just give the impression. And if I go in here and I paint a couple of really nice anemones, and then I come back in here like this and I paint a few smaller flowers or just a few strokes, and they turn and they kind of look like the anemones, the viewer's eye will see them as anemones. So that's a real good thing to remember. So I'm going to push this in and out. So I take that color, that center color, and I'm going to push that in and out of the flower just a bit. I like that. You can see my color is, still very, very wet. I like to do that to keep it that wet there, like that. And even though we're about 30 minutes into the painting here, it's still very, very wet here. Okay, but I'll push in and out just a bit. Soften those colors just a touch there. That's good. And let's pick up some more white here. We'll come down, maybe head towards our warmer yellow, just a touch here. Put some thicker white into the brush here. Thicker white. And we'll use this to kind of, let's turn a petal here up and pull down like this. There, like that. That's kind of pretty. I like to jagged the edges just a bit on the anemones, just like that. Let's pull in. So sometimes I'll slide the brush like this right into the heavier edge. So I'll pick up a lot of paint, but it's heavier to one side. You know, I'll use that as kind of my drawing side. Turn it over here and use just a softer edge there to draw that edge of the anemone there. Here, just a smaller little touch of a petal there, like that. Sometimes I'll wipe the brush and lift off and leave just a little edge there, like that. Pick up some more. This is where I really like that thick white paint, because thick paint just slides right on this thinner paint here. And I like to just kind of pull these in, these petals. This gives them some interest. Pulling in like this. Here we go. Sometimes pull back and forth, the lights and the darks here. Back like that. Just whisper that. That's kind of pretty. Maybe these little guys coming in here. Sometimes I'll backload or put in some of the pinky color and just stroke it back out. That takes that color back out a ways there. And that's kind of nice. That looks kind of nice. Let's paint another one right out here. Coming in. We always got to keep an eye on our light source too. So really I've got to determine here, do I want this edge of this anemone here to be up on top? And I think I might here. We'll take some of that pink color and lift off here. And this is another technique I really like to do. So I like to stroke light in and pull and lift the light out here, coming out the back side there. Pick up some more light right into some of our gray. Nice thick white. This helps you draw here. And let's put the edge of this anemone right here, right on top of that yellow rose, just by giving it some nice light textured white there. That's pretty. Here, in and out. Just color, just get that movement in and out there. Even where I hit that white, I just go back and just accept it and move that color in and out, and you get this beautiful movement in and out to your colors. And that's what you want here. And back and forth. And I do that a lot. I'll lift off and put on, and I can always draw edge back down in to give more of an edge to that flower. Let's keep going here. Let's put a bit more gray here. Let's just hit the top and then just lift off. That's all I'm doing. It's just lightly hitting the top edge of the petal, or the outside edge of the petal, and lifting off, letting that gray pick up from there. Here, like that. There. Very pretty, I like. We'll put a little more pink into some of that. Maybe a touch of that pink into my yellow rose. There. I'm always one who carries color. So if I make a color like touching that pink in like that, always like to go over and touch it in other areas, like my center of interest rose there. Let's push that light there. Maybe just a bit back here for some movement interest. Like that petal or that flower here is turned. Sometimes I just push my finger like this into that wet color. Sometimes I'll take a little chisel here and make like another little petal right there that just says there's the other part of it here. That's kind of pretty, just like that. Sometimes you just, you start painting casual like this, and you let what happens happen, and you can control a certain amount, but paint consistency and flow always change things, and and I like to paint lost edges. I show a lot of this stuff in all of my videos. I talk about all the different techniques I like to do stuff. So here's some pretty ones here. Softer here, coming back, just the idea. Some right in here. There we go. I like those real casual ones back in there. Now, anemones have quite a bit of dark, usually quite dark into the center. So I'm going to put a little bit of medium pink here. And part of the reason is because I want to have an area that, that isn't too dark here, that my dark centers, when I start to build those in these, that dark center will show up a little bit more. And you can, another beautiful color is, we can take our sky blue here with some more white, so it's nice and light here. But those colors can come down into the anemones as well here. And that carries, see how that carries that blue right down into that. Use it as, I always call it, it's kind of like the cool light. Almost like a reflected light for a still life painter. It's the cool light inside the flower. And some of that can happen here on the rose as well. Some of the cool color there. That's kind of nice. Just a bit of that in there. Cool light. Especially important down here where there is no blue showing. So it carries the blue colors down, into the painting here. And now let's take some of our red violet. Red violet and green make beautiful dark browns, reds, almost blackish red here. Red violet and pine green. And let's use that for the idea of the center of the anemone here. Okay, so that gets quite a bit of dark there. And, outside here they start to have a lot of little tiny. So I'm just going to use the corner of the brush here and just kind of casually tap some around here like that. Okay, now I'll also take just a bit of that down into the center of my very dark center of my my rose there too, just to make sure I carry that color. So we have kind of a nice dark kind of dome here into the center, and then we'll use just the corner of our brush, tap lots of little. I like to use the fusions for this because it doesn't, stiff brush or stiff synthetic just gives you perfect little touches, and the fusion here doesn't. It gives you depending on how hard you push and stuff, it bends out of shape really easy. And that's what gives you all these variations to it that are just really nice. Let's make this a little softer back here. A little softer into the flower back there. So more contrast into the ones around the center, around the rose, and then just some ideas of that movement and stuff to the other ones there. So pine green and red violet, very soft, And then just make the center and just kind of go around, and you can tap through it too to lighten it up. You know, you don't have to have it absolutely perfect here. We want, you know, an artist always paints for interest, and we paint sometimes for these to be a little bit different from each other. Here like that. There we go. Just a little idea of some, like maybe you see just a bit of an idea of something. I don't have to worry about getting perfect there. Let's take some of that pine green and the red violet, which is nice, dark, cool, shadowy color here. We can use that for a nice negative, dark tone here, right by this edge of the. You could do some negative painting. Now, I talk about this a lot in my other videos and stuff where I use the negative painting technique to increase contrast around my center of interest or reshape petal edges or something like that. It's quite pretty, some of the painting. So here I have a painting that has quite a bit of contrast to it here. And I kind of like that. And this now, we should start to carry some color too. So I'm going to take the yellow from the rose here, the yellow oxide, lighten it just a bit here. And let's take just a touch of this out, little touches of it, right out here into the edges of some of these anemones as well. Again, it's you know, you may not see it in a real one, but here I'm tying all of this together. So right now it looks like white flower and stuff up against yellow rose. And so we take some of the blue into both, that becomes a common color. And I'll take just a bit of the yellow here of both, right into both, and that becomes a common color as well. So you see a bit of the anemone color here down into the rose. That helps it. Now we'll take some of this center color, now that center's tacked up just a bit. I'll take a little yellow and a little light. We'll make kind of a lighter little gray here from our green, red, violet color. And we'll hit just a bit of the light to those centers. That will happen. Just a bit of that. That's kind of nice. And I think I'm going to increase the power of the rose here just a touch more by putting a little more yellow oxide here into my brush. And let's push out to the yellow here, the yellow side here. And push a little more yellow right into that side, dropping down that side of the rose. And we'll let that come out here, right there like that onto that front side. So it takes that out just a bit more there. You can look to, we have our pine green. You can have a bit of red violet or a bit of burnt sienna in it. Those are the colors I really like to paint into that. Let's put a little more burnt sienna. And you can use some of that negative painting, like maybe you want to come right into here and add just a touch more contrast right into there on that part of the painting there coming out. You know, sometimes I like, you know, different types of movements and stuff coming out of here. I like little leaves and flowers and stuff coming out the edges of these here, you know, so I might push something out, or push some green colors out here, some soft greens. Use this to negative paint and shape up some of the anemone petals here. Maybe you have that going on. Just change up some of the petals. I can drag this if I want to make a petal here softer. I'll show you some of the stuff I do. Sometimes I do this 3 or 4 times to a flower. And let's just say I want to really soften out this part of the anemone here. which I tend to do. So with a lot of flowers, I'll paint lost edges, found edges. Then I'll come back and just load up some of that lighter color and just hit the edges here. And that will make the anemone here, see how it makes the anemone, the petals, a little bit more lost or transparent, because you're taking some of the colors in and out there. And you get those nice optical transparent effects to a petal there. Let's increase it right in here just a touch, so it's a little bit more opaque looking right here. There we go. Maybe just an idea of a heavier little petal right here coming across. That's kind of pretty. Anemones can have, there's different varieties, but they have sometimes have petals overlapping each other a bit. So right in here we can increase this so it doesn't look just flat. We can increase its beauty here by adding almost like another layer of petals, of these coming in and overlapping each other slightly. Here. This one here as well. There we go. A little heavier light color. Right up in the front, very thick white. And just paint that in. Isn't that nice how that just works right in there? Yeah, that's kind of pretty. It kind of builds them all. Gets a little bit different look to them. Let's get some of our greens here. And maybe take these greens out to the sides here like that. I'm just watching the flow of everything coming out. Some of those stems I'd put in there all got covered up, so I might want to push in the idea of a few stems and stuff right down here, or stem movements. I like it to be blurred, but not quite that much. So we'll just drop some of this in. A little pine green and burnt sienna, some of our originals here, coming through, and put some of those little touches in. I like those little touches of color. There, I like little bits and touches of color. You can go in and paint perfect, or just give a little touch of some of those colors here. There we go. Just little bits. I like that. And add as much as you want. Just remember to leave some of the original lights and stuff in there as well. But don't take out don't take out too much. Now I'm going to push this lighter blue. We'll come back to the blue. See, it's been almost 50 minutes, 47 minutes into this painting here or so, and this is still all nice and wet. It's because I used the global. Global means that I've pre-mixed in some of the extender into the color, and then I let some of the water evaporate out over a day or so, and mixing it up into the cup. And I have videos on there that show how I do that. I have lots of videos of this. So I'm going to push some of this right back in, this light color back in. Now you hit a little bit of that burnt sienna there, Dave, so you're just going to take it right out. That's how, because I'm using thick color, I can take some of that right out there. And let's push some of that, a touch more blue. Let's push some of that right through here. This is really what I like to do. I like to take these colors and just push like that and create these looks through like this. And I like these thick colors to kind of move together like that. And I just think you get such a great look to your painting. You get this blurring of some of these colors. Sometimes I'll negative paint back in and add a little bit of that light coming back through the painting there. Or I'll come back in like an edge right here of that rose and push it right against the edge of a blue like that. So so it looks different. You get that look coming through like that. Just little bits of that coming through. I like the vignetted of it, where it's not all just blue going through. And you can do it in reverse also. So I could take some of these light yellows here that I have, and I can push that back the other way as well into some of this. And that looks good. Take some of those little leaf shapes out, some of that around. Yeah, and that looks fairly good. Maybe a couple of more little touches of light white. Let's go back here towards our white and our grays, like little edges here. Like this one could have a little bit more of an edge here, right here. So that gives just a bit more interest between this edge and that edge. It kind of lifts it up, brings it forward. Let's put just a bit more of an edge right here. And these are some of the things that I look for into the painting as your eye is traveling through. I'm looking for edges, because your eye travels, the viewer's eye will travel through textures and color and edges, you know, really defined edges of the flowers. And so I really like to paint my edges very clear sometimes to really help that traveling through here. Tap that right through. Bring this one up just a bit more here, and like that. And that's kind of pretty. And that works kind of well for me. I think that'll be, oh, I might put a touch of an edge right here. So that just kind of turns that one that way just a touch. And I think that's what I'll do. That's all I'll do on that one. And hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much. So, like I said, if you really enjoy it, please subscribe to the channel. It's right down there. More subscribers we get, of course, the more YouTube shows our videos around. If you want some more information about some of the things I do, how I do it, you know, there's all the links down below there. You can check it all out. I have online classes. I have over 500 educational DVDs. And, of course, on the DVDs and the classes and stuff, I slow down. Don't paint quite as fast, and we talk to you quite a bit more about the colors and the techniques and what we're going to do. And so hopefully you'll join me on some of those, because we have a lot of fun. It has a lot of techniques. I love to study the masters, and like you see some of the paintings that behind me, I like to study them, recreate them, and show you how to create your own and stuff. Okay, so I hope to see you on some of those. Okay, till next time, you take care. Hit those links and hit subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.